It might seem like it's not a big deal for some to rent an apartment. However, the process can get overwhelming if you don't know the requirements needed to qualify. I'm gonna go over how to determine your budget, what landlord is looking the most in your application, and why your application might be denied. Step number 1, determine your budget and don't overestimate. According to US Department of Housing and Urban Development, you need to have at least 30% of your monthly income. Many landlords require your income to be 3 times the rent. Just calculate if your house that you're gonna rent or apartment $2,000, then you need to make $6,000 to qualify. Before you start searching for your apartment or house, make sure to check on this rent calculator. It's gonna help you to determine your budget. Okay, we're gonna go on Google and put rent calculator, and you're gonna see right here rent calculator, and I like this one, calculator.net. Right here we have $50,000 a year preset, so you pretty much put your income here yearly pre-tax and your monthly debt that you paying. So hopefully you have only $300 debt on $50,000 a year income, and you calculate, and now you can see that you can afford only $1,200 per month, and they actually suggest you to, it's safe if you get $867 a month rental. And you know what I want to say, that in California you can only rent a room in for this amount. But let's say you rent with somebody else, your rental income can be combined, and let's say both of you make 100,000, and maybe you guys have only, let's say, 600. So now you can afford 1733, but you can go up to 2400. Also, you can check on, see, this is rent versus buy calculator, income calculator, budget calculator. You can read about what is rent, the renting process. Step number 2, find out what is your credit score. You know that when you buy a house, you do need 720, and the higher score you have, the better rates you get, and that's true. With rentals, we don't really care. Landlord doesn't really care for that high of score. They look at least for 600. Sometimes they even okay with 580, and maybe even with 560, as long as your credit report is clean. It doesn't, and also they do background checks, so they make sure you don't have any evictions, which is very important. You don't have any collections. And recently, because of COVID, I see so many people have collections on their accounts. Maybe you don't understand what that does to your credit. It really lowers your credit score, and plus it indicates that you're not responsible. What is collections? You did a purchase and you did not pay back. What credit card does that they try to collect from you and you're not paying. So they're gonna ask this collection agency to help them and to collect those money from you. What this agency does, they write you a letter and say, hey, you need to pay this amount, or they actually tell you in their letter that they're gonna put that in your credit. So what do you do with that? It's very simple actually to take care of it. Don't be afraid to call collection agency. You call them and you actually can negotiate your debt. So try that, and don't be afraid to call on your collections. Close all those accounts and you will have nice clean credit. Step number 3, move-in cost. You need to have a little savings in your account for deposit and first month's rent. So deposit typically the same as monthly rent. Let's say if you rent an apartment for $2,000 a month, you need to have $2,000 of deposit, and you need to show this on your bank statement. A deposit sometimes can be different. A landlord decide what deposit they wanna charge you. And sometimes it's based on if apartment is furnished and if apartment includes appliances. If those kind of apartments you renting, then you might pay higher deposit. If there are pet deposit, like let's say if you have a pet, they might require you to pay for pet deposit. You also need to factor in for your moving costs utilities. Some apartments do not pay utilities at all, and you might pay everything, especially houses right now. Like if you rent single family home, most likely you're gonna pay everything, all utilities, be prepared to have that extra cash to pay from your income. Step number 4, have required documents in one place. Put that together. I know it might be exhausting list. If you have this all together in one pile, maybe you scan it and have this at the tip of your nail, then you're gonna be very fast with your application. Pay for application fees, processing fees. Step number 5, do your research. You can go to, I know, apartment.com, very popular right now. There are realtor.com, Zillow, rent home or rent apartment. There's so many right now that it's overwhelming. I know I find that Facebook marketplace is huge right now on rentals, and you can totally rent from Facebook. Before it was Craigslist, but I want to tell you, be careful with that search, because so many scams been going on that somebody pretended to be a realtor and they actually rented a house that was for sale, and the renter paid deposit, paid moving costs, and then realtor disappeared. So you need to be very careful. If you have somebody, a realtor you know, then you can shoot them the address and say, hey, can you verify if this property is legit? If something sounds to be too good to be truth, then it's probably not true. So kind of follow your instinct. Never ever pay any money up front. You have to sign lease agreement, and then you're gonna pay your deposit and your rent, and you must receive keys at that moment as well. Also, you can go and walk into lease offices. It's very popular right now too. Big apartment complexes, they have lease offices on site, and you can walk in and ask if they have any vacancies. It is very frustrating to get hold of somebody who listed an apartment. A few things it might indicate. First of all, it might not be available anymore. It's rented already. Second, missed your email, because I know many of you just email, like replying on apartment.com, you just, oh, is it available? And that's it. This is not enough. So make sure you find a phone number who listed this apartment and try to call them, text them, and email them. Do everything you can to get an answer, and if you do this multiple times, they will answer you. When you finally schedule a viewing, you got some hold of somebody and they say, okay, I will show you this apartment this time, this day, and you say okay, and you don't show up. Recently I had about 100 inquiries on apartment I was renting. Oh, about 10 people showed up. From 10 people, maybe a few applied, and the rest were applying like a week later. You have to move. If you do want an apartment, you need to move quick. You should understand, if apartment is vacant, it's gonna go fast for the first approved applicant. Step number 6, how to view an apartment. So you came to the open house or showings or viewings. Don't be shy to check inside functionality. You can turn on the faucet, you can turn on switches, you even can take measurements. If you feel like you're serious and you already pre-qualified yourself, you think I'm getting this apartment, check where is the laundry. Is laundry inside the unit or on site or in a building somewhere? Check for security. Is there a gate? Check for your neighbors. What kind of neighbors you're gonna have? If you, let's say, if there are small kids and you don't like noise, consider that, because it's apartment complex and there gonna be noise. If you don't want a noise, that you need to find apartment that might not have kids. I always suggest people who buy in houses, if you want to learn more about your neighbors and your neighborhood, how safe it is, drive in different times. Like you can come in the morning, you can come in the afternoon, evening. You can stop by at the local groceries, see what kind of people there are. Step number 7, request an application and requirements. Be clear where to apply, how to submit an application, and what are the requirements. Read those requirements and kind of pre-qualify yourself first and see, let's say they required 650 credit score, but you think you have about 600, then call them. call or email and find out if that can be compensated. Maybe you have collections and you can say right away, don't hide, because they will find out. And they can say like, hey, I have a few collections. Do you think that's gonna go through or not? So you don't waste your time, you don't waste anybody else's time, and you move on to the next one. Make sure you ask, how long is the lease? The terms. Typically it's a 12 months lease. Sometimes I see a 2-year lease, which is 24 months lease. But I hardly see now month-to-month lease or like on a monthly basis. So yes, be clear on terms and make sure you have no surprises on the requirements. Fill out the application for every adult, which is 18 plus. Each application has to be separately filled out for each person who renting. Let's say 3 of you renting, then you have to have 3 applications, and all those supporting documents that we mentioned in step 4 need to be submitted with that application for each person. Before you sign in your lease, make sure you understand what you sign in, because this is the binding contract you sign in. So the biggest is what your terms. Is it month to month or yearly, 1 year or 2 years? Because if you breach that lease, if you break the lease before 12 months, then you will lose your deposit. In your lease, you will find rules about your pet, parking, storage, security deposit, what are you responsible to maintain, what owner will be maintained, who is your contact if you need to submit a notice or call somebody or request repairs. On your lease, you're gonna find out when is your rent due. Typically it's in the first day of the month. If you on 3 days late, then you're gonna pay late fees. So you need to find out what is your late fees are. And if you don't understand something, then Google it or ask your friend, ask your family to explain you. You make sure you understand your lease application. Understanding move in, move out form. This form is very important, because your deposit based on this form. When you move in, you're gonna go and see on this form kitchen, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, depends how many bedrooms you have, bathrooms, hallway, windows, floors, everything gets indicated in what condition you receive in this apartment. Because when you move out, the landlord gonna compare how did you move in, how you moving out, what kind of condition you live in right now. Make sure to leave your apartment and appliances clean, because the deduction from deposit, number 1 deduction from deposit is for cleaning. On move out form, you're also gonna see it indicates how many keys you receive. If you have a remote control, you're gonna receive that, so you have to return that back. Let's say you decided to change locks in your apartment. Make sure you notify owner and give them a key, because it's a breach of contract and you can be in violation. So do not ever change locks without knowledge of the owner. Actually, you're not allowed to change locks, but if you decided to, for better security or better lock you want to put in, you need to tell the owner and give him a key too, because owners by law must have an access to your apartment. They're not gonna ever access without your knowledge. They cannot do that. They have to give you 24-hour notice to come to inspect your apartment, but they have to have the key. To summarize, before you start searching, determine your budget, find out your credit score and if you have collections. Find out if you have evictions. Ask how long is the lease, if pets are allowed, what is deposit, other requirements they may have. Is there laundry on a site if it's important to you? Is there assigned parking? And make sure you call, text, email multiple times until you get an answer. Once you get an answer, apply as soon as you can, because now you are prepared. Thank you for staying with me to the end. I know it's been a lot of steps, but now you are ready to get your perfect place. And you're gonna get it because you organized and you know exactly what is expected from you, and you've been pre-qualifying yourself. And please subscribe, and don't forget to get that how to rent apartment guide in my description. Thank you, and I see you next time.